Hello, I'm Amy Hollingworth, the director of the Safe Sports Network, and I'm here today with Dr. Christopher Couture from Victory Sports Medicine. Thank you, Dr. Couture, for joining us today.
Thank you.
We're here to talk about sports specialization and burnout. Dr. Couture, can you tell me a good take-home point for athletes and parents regarding sports specialization and burnout?
Sure. Probably the easiest way to put it is early sports specialization is bad. There is plenty of evidence to confirm, not even suggest, but to confirm that an athlete that is focusing on one sport to the exclusion of all others early in life not only doesn't improve their chances of making it to a high level in that sport, such as collegiate or international or professional participation, but actually increases their chance of harm. It's far more important for kids to have a very diverse physical education, training, and sports experience, to play multiple sports growing up, to make sure that they take time off during the year where they're really not necessarily doing any organized sports at all and just having time to be a kid. Early sports specialization is definitely not a good thing.
And what are your thoughts on how early is too early, right? We use the word early sports specialization,
Yep.
but what does that mean for athletes and parents?
Roughly speaking, a middle-aged student should, or it's not middle-aged, a middle school student should not be participating in one sport to the exclusion of all others. There are other rules of thumb, so there are certain sports like swimming, gymnastics, dancing, where even at 8, 10 years old, that's all they do. And so if they are in one sport like that, avoiding overtraining in order to avoid burnout is important as well. And so a rule of thumb is spending more time in hours per week in intense training than a kid is old is probably a good rule of thumb not to violate. So in other words, a 12-year-old kid shouldn't necessarily be dancing or doing intense gymnastics training for 16, 18, 20 hours a week, or at least if they are, you should be looking for signs that they might be overtraining or burning out or that sort of thing.
Excellent. So Dr. Couture, can you tell me what a good take-home point for healthcare providers would be in regards to sports specialization and burnout?
I think the most important thing is to just be vigilant. Be on the lookout for kids who might be exhibiting signs of overtraining and burnout. An excellent rule of thumb is for most kids, they should not be participating in intense training for as many hours per week as they are old. So for example, a 12-year-old shouldn't be doing intense athletic training like dancing, gymnastics, or any of their sport for 16, 18, 20 hours a week, which we see all the time. It may not be that that's necessarily a bad thing, but that's one rule of thumb where if somebody is training to that level, that you should be looking for other signs that they might be overtraining or burning out.
Excellent. Any thoughts on resources or what a healthcare provider could do if they are suspecting the burnout from maybe the mental aspect? Or
there's a lot of position statements out there from different organizations like the International Olympic Committee, various sports and governing bodies about early diversification in sports and making sure that kids are avoiding the potential consequences of overtraining or burning out. So there's a lot of things that are out there. It's just a matter of looking.
Dr. Couture, what do you think is the biggest buzz around sports specialization and burnout?
I think the biggest thing is probably the recognition that it's a real issue. Kids do not need to be participating in one sport to the exclusion of all others, and in fact that may be harmful for them. We think it probably is harmful for them. And so the buzz is the recognition that it's important to diversify in sports. It's important for kids to participate in sports and physical activity, but more to do it for fun and for fitness rather than trying to train little professionals. And so there is greater recognition of that, and we want to make sure that people have access and knowledge about the resources when it comes to helping kids to avoid the consequences of early specialization.
Excellent. Is it true that many professional athletes played more than one sport even in high school?
It's very true. Most professional athletes, especially in team sports, were participants in 3 or 4 of their school's varsity or junior varsity teams. There are certain sports that lend themselves to specializing early, like gymnastics and dancing and swimming and so forth, but even kids in those sports can benefit from diversifying their experience and doing more neuromotor training, exercise for the fun of exercising rather than intense skills-oriented training. So a broad base is definitely one where you're going to have a greater recipe for success.
Excellent. Well, thank you for your time, Dr. Couture, and have a great day.
Thank you.